welcome at this new episode of our podcast Peace Today, where we talk to people from all over the world who are working towards building a more peaceful world. And today I'm very happy to be joined by Shirine Jurdi. She is the president of WILF Lebanon, and WILF means the Women International League for Peace and Freedom. Did I say that correct, Shirine?
Yes, you did. Thank you for having me.
Shirine, most welcome. You're from Lebanon. And we've seen over the past, I can't even count, almost 2 years, extreme destruction in the Middle East. It's not the first time, of course. We've seen many wars in the Middle East over the past decades. But this war seems to go beyond a lot of limits that we thought were possible in terms of human suffering and in terms of cruelty. Maybe can we start by you a little bit explaining how you lived through the past months and years?
Thank you, Jacob. And I think maybe we just talk about the past 2 years because we have the social media that we were able to see what was happening in the region. But this has been happening for a long time. It's about colonialism, it's about occupation, it's about injustice in the region. Things have been going on for a long period, like since 1948, with the creation of the Palestine question, of the refugees. Even in Lebanon, like Lebanon was a newly independent state. So all of these dynamics in the region, I think we have been living ongoing works. And like if I go back to the grandfather, my father, my mother, the parents, like you can see like how generations have been living these ongoing wars with different dynamics, because also the infrastructures, the militarization differs from the past to now. So this is like an ongoing, I would say a genocide, because it's not only about a genocide that was unveiling in Palestine in the past 2 years. It has been going on, and the systematic exclusion of how you see things as well. You were able now, it's not because of the media, because otherwise you would not even be asking me this question. It's about this new, like the technology that also developed these weapons was also like we had another technology that was able to also show us. So definitely it was too hard in the past 2 years, especially if I want to talk about Lebanon. We have been living a compounded crisis since 2019. We went to this protest revolution, we can call it, depending on who's the person talking about it. But we had this, then we had the financial crisis where people lost their incomes, they lost their monies. You lost even like some of the dreams that you had on bringing the change, the positive change of building institutionalized, building a state with infrastructures for peace. So, and then to be faced with COVID, then the port explosion.
Port explosion, yes.
And then like to be just on top the war that we had to face, the direct war, I would say, in Lebanon in September last year. I mean, we faced like the weaponization of telecommunication. This should not go unnoticed. This should not go without...
You mean the pager attacks?
Pager attacks.
So first, maybe to create some more context, I think in the West we have a very limited view of countries outside of the West. So I wouldn't say that people are very well aware of what Lebanon is in terms of a country. We have these images of Hezbollah maybe, but that's maybe it. I don't know. And we're very sort of narrow-sighted if we look to other countries. So what do people need to know if they want to understand anything about Lebanon?
Yeah. Lebanon is a small country in Middle East. It's a democracy, I would say, in the sense that it has 18 sects and religion. It's a political confessional system, in the sense that religions, it's a politicization of the religion. Mm-hmm. So based on
18 sects and religion.
Yeah,
18.
That's quite So this mosaic, I would say, of this religious communities living together. sharing the power. I would not say like this is the perfect system, but maybe this is not something we want to talk about. This is an ongoing thing that we really, but also we need to discuss it. But we need to discuss it how, and that's why maybe there was the revolution in 2019, how we better can have this system. We had ongoing wars in Lebanon, whether with ongoing attacks by Israel in different years. And we had also internal civil war.
Yes.
We have the refugees from Palestine, and we have refugees from Syria. So it's a system that is collapsed, but like in 2019 and afterwards, after that, we did not have a president. We did not have. We had like an interim government. So just imagine, like even with this, we are still able like to function some of our daily lives.
That's what I wanted to ask. Because you, as you described, it's a complex country with you call it a mosaic of all different religions and cultures coming together, including refugees from different sides, and it isn't even managed to function throughout economic crisis, wars, lack of government, etc. So how are Lebanese doing that? How are they surviving day to day?
You know, I always think of it, it's a personal initiative, and I think it's the social support system that people tend to do it as communities, as families, also like families living abroad, they have them, some family members, they send them money. So even if you don't have traffic lights, people like tend to manage themselves. But I don't want to brag about this.
It's not ideal.
No, because we make jokes out of it. But I think it's time like not to make jokes anymore about it, and how to hold the government and previous governments accountable, how to have the impunity to the Lebanese governments and officials per se, but also to the international system as well. The international system that gave lots of donations to Lebanon. So where did all this money go? Where is the infrastructure? Where are the state buildings? I mean, there are lots of things that we need to talk about and to unveil so that we can really understand like the root causes of the conflict. But definitely this lack of instability in the region can be one of the things.
Can we talk about that? Because how do you see the influence of especially US and Israel over the past period in the region, and how did it affect Lebanon?
Yeah, definitely there are the double standards that are clear to everyone. Definitely you can see the injustice. So if you can see this is like the mere recipe to see like how population and how people would feel like. But still, I would not say that all people come with one way of thinking or like a collective way. There are also, because of the mosaic, I would say, there are different opinions about like some support and others don't. So, but definitely I would say it's not the ideal way of how you want to have your neighbor, and at the same time it's not like the word power, how the word power is also like even like for us, because like, you know, at times like I cannot differentiate when I talk about things between Lebanon and Palestine, and I always remember this veto power to humanitarian aid or veto power to a ceasefire.
In the UN Security Council, you mean? Yeah.
So, and the role of the US in that. So how can you like veto a ceasefire? How can you veto humanitarian support? It's crazy. So this is the role in general, and I don't know if we need also like to do some kind of dialogue at different levels, like to see those people who think alike, and also try to see and to understand, or like maybe to have an input to those who think otherwise, because I think when we talk about if things are not working, how to make it work.
Yes. So, but delving a little bit more into the let's say the root causes, as you've been calling them, how would you describe yourself what has been going on over? I mean, of course, we've seen the past months, but you describe actually the period of since the 80s or before, maybe. So, what are the root causes of the current instability, in your opinion?
Militarization is a root cause. Patriarchism is a mere cause, and colonialism. We have like a new forms of colonialism. We have a lack of power asymmetry. We have narratives, I think.
Yeah, okay.
It's about narratives, how you form the narratives.
Can you say a little bit more about that?
Like the terminologies that you use, like about who is the party that started the war. How you formulate the asymmetry of power, and also like the dynamics of what is happening. Even like ignoring things as occupation, as attacks, as aggression, the right to self-defense, occupation. So when you tend to disregard the proper narrative, that can have like different implications. And maybe that's why like I'm talking about dialogue, because unfortunately the media and world officials who have like the power, they tend to create a different narrative from what is really happening at the grassroots, at the local level.
And has this narrative, has it been going on since decades, or is it also something new?
No, it has been going through decades, and I think now because we have a voice, and that's why you started with what happened in the past 2 years, because the past 2 years were the more vocal years because of the social TikTok, Instagram, and it's the young generations. It's not those that are brainwashed, not still brainwashed. So they were the ones who came up with the proper narrative because they were able to see what was happening.
What was actually going on.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're having these weapons and these children are killed. In Lebanon, like once in just one day, we had like the mass exodus just on this. It was a Monday that I think it was the 23rd of September. And I tell you, since the war, I feel like I tend to forget, especially numbers. So, but I remember very well, it was a Monday. And I follow lots of these women, especially from the south of Lebanon, and they stayed because there was like ongoing also war and bombings here and there. But they were sure that they're going to stay at home until this Monday. People left their homes, and even while trying to leave their homes, they were bombarded on the way. I would like to quote Rana Ghanawi, like who said they were leaving, and her two kids also were with them when a car was bombed in front of them and the people were on fire. And she had to convince her kids that these are dolls. So you're just trying to escape your life, and you see this. And at the same time, it was on purpose done that this kind of bombing happens on that day so that people leave their lands. But we wouldn't have seen this if it wasn't for the social media, that we own it as people.
So each time when there were reports about bombings of especially Beirut, but also Bekaa Valley, etc., each time it was mentioned in our news, there was, it was Hezbollah targets were targeted, no? Was that true? Or was it something else in your perspective?
What is Hezbollah? I mean, they are Lebanese, right? So there can be Hezbollah, but there can be civilians as well.
Yeah.
So how do you explain us children like militarized, and is it Hezbollah just like a militarily thing? But Hezbollah also, they have the hospitalization, they have the education. So is it that we want also like to target the military, or we want to target also the civilian? So I think there are different kinds of narratives. But still,
which narrative is true? Did they target civilians on purpose?
I'm telling you, on the way when they were leaving on Monday, they were targeting civilians.
Mm-hmm.
So when
How many people have died since last year?
you know, I don't like to have people in numbers.
No, I understand. I understand.
And I never think, like, even lately when we tend to say like it's like 3,000, it's and I think no, it's about like our stories. It's about even a person. A person can be thousands.
Of course. Yeah.
Because you're not killing a person. Maybe you're ending the life of a person, but you're also traumatizing the rest.
The whole society. Yes.
My niece and nephew, like we used to talk about the wartime and how we used to flee from one place to another to find the safety, but they are living it as well. So, and now we're scared and we're worried, and now we see like people talking about the nuclear. So we're moving.
Yes.
Even so, like each generation has their own concerns, their own challenges.
Fears.
And now, just like on top, it's nuclear.
There's now a nuclear threat. Yes.
Nuclear threat, and even like people now are talking. Do we have the right medication? Are we going to talk about actually really like this is nuclear? This is nuclear, insane. Like it's insane. It's ending lives of humanity, the earth. We're talking about the climate implications, about these weapons. Like Israel bombed Lebanon with phosphorus weapons. It bombed Lebanon with these tested weapons, because this is also about the economy. Like they test the weapons on us and they see like the impact. Wow, we great impact. We had like 14 stories being destroyed. So these weapons, like now they are in the market and definitely they have a price.
And the Netherlands is buying them, I have to say. During the genocide in Gaza, the Dutch bought for $1.5 billion from Israeli companies, weapon companies, yes. During everything that happened.
Yeah, but there was also a Dutch court case, right?
This was against export to Israel for F-35
yes.
parts.
So I think the Dutch government also need to reconsider this. We have The Hague, we have the ICC, we have. I mean, like we need to revisit our value system. Yes. Yesterday, Maya took me on a trip in the Leiden University and the boat. And
Maya Vodov-Pivet, she was a teacher at the Leiden University.
Yes. Yeah. And they were talking about like the war, but when? 1500, 1800. But we're talking about the war yesterday. And you see like communities can develop. And you can like have a better system, better even the way you deal with things in a humanitarian approach, in a sensitive human rights approach. If you're living like a normal life, but we're living in constant war, what do you expect out of us? Yeah. So, I mean, we're humans. Yeah. We are not. This is why, like I say, we're not numbers. We are humans, and we need to stress the fact, like you're living in peace. It's not because you're living in peace, but you're exporting war and death to others. Yes. And you need to be mindful of that, because also your people are aware, not because of you, but they're aware through the social media. They're aware of what is happening, and they will have you accountable.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that people don't think about those kind of things, their own accountability. They think they can get away with whatever, murder, etc. So in this, you describe a situation of living in this constant situation of insecurity, war, and each generation having to deal with its own new version of war, etc., which is increasing in danger, etc. How are you dealing with it as an organization or as a person? What can you do in such situations? How do you keep hope? How do you keep society somehow together? What do you do?
Yes, we do lots of things, because we say like we have a cause. We are not project-based, and I tell them we are not a project. We are a cause. We have no other option, by the way. During the 2-month war, like we were having a project with the Peace Women across the globe, which is a Swiss organization. We were working on small arms light weapon and the implications of small arms light weapon on gender-based violence. And we were about to just to have this conference. And then the war started. And I was telling them, with the big bombs, now we cannot talk about small arms. This is what I'm saying, like about conflict areas. So you're just living with ongoing changes and challenges and priorities that change. Then we had to work on women peace tables, and this is something, it's a concept that was developed by the peace women across the globe.
Women's peace tables?
Yes.
And what is that exactly?
So we discuss it, we have like a safe space for women to discuss like what are the implications of the war, what are their priorities, how do they see things, the economic implications, and how do they see peace. And I would like also like to give one of the brilliant examples during that time. I had most of it online. And now if I go back in time, I'm not sure how I did it. Because like you could see like this sounds, and the house would be at times shaking. And when the house is shaking, my heart also is beating. So how I was able to do it? Sometimes I think, how did I do it? And now I feel like, maybe I cannot do it anymore. But maybe if it happens again, I will be able to do it. So one of the meetings was in person, and that was in one of these vocational schools in Shuaifat. Because lots of displaced people came to schools. Lebanon is small. Like you cannot like have this amount of displaced people in different locations. So in this school, like we had this meeting between the host community and the displaced. One of the questions was about advocacy and how you see peace, about hope. And one of these young women, she was a lawyer. She told me, I tell you, I was not even able to answer, to finish the question. And she said, I know what is it to have hope and to have advocacy messages for peace. And it turned out it's about a mural that I had as part of the localization work that I was doing with the global network.
Painting on the wall.
It was on the wall about women, peace and security. And it was written in Arabic because like I thought that would be an excellent place to have the women, peace and security mural. It's a school area, it's a picnic area, and it's like a main road between villages. And I was so happy like to see that when she read women, peace and security, she thought that this is the hope. And she said like every day in the evening we go for a walk and we see that mural and we have hope. And that's why as part of the women peace tables, we had another mural next to this women, peace and security to talk about roles of women. It talked about a women's role in peace building. It talked about the war and the destruction and how we need equality, we need negotiation, we need peace, and how it is that women need to play a role in mediation.
Can you tell a bit more about that? Like what role do women play, and do they play a good role at this moment, or are they able to play a role? And what role should they play or could they play?
I'm not sure. Maybe they're playing roles at the local level, but for me, I would really love women to play a role at a more higher level, at a more visible and higher level. I'm a member also of the local women mediation in the south of Lebanon. Though I'm not from the south of Lebanon, but I decided to be part of this local mediators group, Marja Ayun Hasbaya, because it's not only affiliated to UN Women, but also to UNIFIL. So this is where like I have also an initiative as part of WILF Lebanon, but also like I founded lately a new NGO called Wisely. It's about women and youth and how we can have them leadership, knowledge production, mediation. So we're having like an initiative how to have agency and leadership to these women in the post-ceasefire because we did lots of work during the war. We did some advocacy messages in different spaces. We had the NGO CSW, we had the webinar that they usually have in October as part of the Arab Feminist Network, because I'm also a member of the Arab Feminist Network, which is a network in MENA region that was created in post-COVID. So I'm chair in the Women, Peace and Security group. We had this webinar, and it was really good because we took a global platform from the NGO CSW and we took it for us. So, and we call it Hear Us, and then it was the webinar Hear Them. And we were women from different parts of the MENA, from conflict areas, including from the south of Lebanon, where they had also the messages of what it is that we want to have peace and what is it that
and can you say, like, why is it so important to have women involved in conflict resolution?
If I can give you just one example, it's still not clear what are the elements of the ceasefire agreement in Lebanon. And the monitoring unit is also military. But you cannot expect to have same input and to have different results. And in the MENA region in general, we don't see women at the decision-making level when it comes to peace and security. We don't see them in either military or in civilian negotiation. So once you want to have really a holistic approach to peace, you need to have everybody in the room. You cannot know what needs do I have. You will not be able to know what are the priorities. But women, they lead the family. They know exactly what is needed in the families. And that's why, like, also one of the things that we are raising for the women local mediators in the south of Lebanon is to see, like, how we can have also a gender-sensitive approach to the ceasefire monitoring unit. How we can have also the rebuilding, because we have 40 villages completely destroyed. How we can have, like, the rebuilding within this sensitive approach that includes, like, the victims, the survivors, gender. When we talk about gender, it means like women, men, and minority groups. So how we have it in a holistic way, this is why we need women. We need women, and definitely the women approach.
Yeah. So now you mentioned, 40 villages were completely wiped out by Israel, huh? Completely.
Completely.
Yeah,
not only this. What I've learned also, like, from one of our colleagues in the local women's mediators network in the south of Lebanon, that they lacked water. They even bombed the water so that people, weaponization of water, the weaponization of food, so that people leave their lands. And people are staying. So one of the guys who was trying to help in the generator so that they can produce water, he was bombed. And he died because that guy was doing, like, a good thing to the community.
So it's a deliberate attempt to eliminate life,
yeah,
I think, in the south of Lebanon, no?
Yes, and this we did not measure yet the implications and the impact of the bombs that were used on the land, on the soil, on the air.
Yeah.
And the rebels, like, what about the rebels of this, like, I don't know how many tons, or I don't know, like
concrete.
Yeah. So what will the impact of these on the soil, on what are we breathing?
Yeah.
So is the international community aware of this?
I think they're aware, but they don't care too much. I'm afraid.
Why? Because we are numbers.
Yeah. So.
But we are not.
No,
and I'm saying it, we're not.
No.
This is a message, like, we are not. We can be a collective force to make the world a better place.
Yes, of course we can. It's about the will, I think. Yeah. That the people in power have no will to change anything for the better, no?
Yeah,
and
because
so
it's about money.
It's
about money, it's about economy, it's about the military, it's about, unfortunately, also how we're misusing technology. We want technology for the well-being of the people, not to destroy it.
Of course.
Just like as we have the killer robots, like the developments of the killer robots. Even Israel has the Lavender program and the Godaddy program.
Yeah.
And it's being applied on us. Yesterday in Lebanon, in one of these villages, Hula, in the south of Lebanon, a drone came very close to, I'm even scared even to say this, I feel it's really scary. The drone came very close to the home of this couple, and then it says, "Oh, so you're drinking Nescafe." It's a horror show.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's a
scientific. Like I feel, even like saying it, I feel like I'm in a science fiction movie.
Yeah. So, seeing all this, seeing a desire by people in power to eliminate social life in southern Lebanon and throughout the whole MENA region, I think. And seeing the escalation now between Israel and Iran, like what are you feeling? Where is it going? Is there any end to the suffering? Is there any end to the destruction? What do you feel? What's your feeling? Where are we moving realistically?
Do you know how I feel? I don't feel anything. I feel like I cannot think anymore. It's the skies. People are stranded, even at the present.
Yes.
Even like we don't want to go beyond. Even at the present, people are stranded. People with families, they're stranded in different airports. They cannot go back home, and people also are scared of these rockets. I don't know what you call them.
Yeah, rockets, missiles.
Ballistic
missiles, cruise missiles.
Yeah. So we were talking about F-35. Now we're talking about this. So every time, you see, a different dynamics of weaponization, militarization, but this is really dangerous because we're talking about nuclear. We're talking about radiations. We're talking about.
So it's hard for you to look into the future. Can I say that?
I don't want to.
No, you don't want to. No.
Yeah, I'm even scared to look at because I could see if you can go that far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because.
So let's then talk about what we should do now. Because rather than look into the future where it's going, what should we do and how can we help each other from across the globe and from different parts of the world? How can we help? What can we do to make sure that peace will come back at some moment to the Middle East?
Yeah, I think we work so much in silos. I don't know how many of the women organizations, the peace-led organizations, the grassroots people who work how much are we united? How much we align our work together, we reach out to each other. During the war, a woman in Palestine lost hope also of these international agendas, whether the Women, Peace and Security agenda, even talking about the SDGs, SDG 16. What are you talking about?
It's far away, yeah.
You're talking about, but we're dying on a daily basis. What are you talking about?
Of course, I can imagine. Yeah.
So how can we align? How can we align our work? This is I think is it. And how do you listen to us? Do I need to tell you that I'm living and we're dying on a daily basis? Do I need to tell you? There are simple things that we need to start with. And I think also one of our colleagues, we were talking about the role of women also in Europe and in the West, because wars are sustained through weapons.
Of course.
So when these weapons are sent to the region, this is only a reason to escalate. Have you heard once women in Palestine calling for weapons? Never. Women in Palestine are calling for ceasefire. They're calling to the end of this genocide. And at times now, they're asking for humanitarian support because they want to live. They want to live. So how can even people in the West lobby and stop their governments. But it seems to me like even people in the West, they're unable because they say there are no spaces.
Mhm.
But you say like you are democracy and governments would listen to the people. So it's not that you're not a democracy then? This is the first thing. What kind of mechanisms you can do and what kind of like allies you can bring within the government to support you. And also I think the people have a role out of the values. It's not only about it's not about Lebanese Palestinians, it's about humanity. How you can stop the export of weapons to conflict areas. Because these are things that people can do. And they have succeeded. For example, in UK, they have succeeded.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So there are successful stories.
We
Let's
have
learn.
well, I don't know if it's a success, but for the first time it was the municipality of Rotterdam lied about it. They were lying about the export of weapons to Israel through the big harbor of Rotterdam. But through activists it was exposed, and it was, I don't know, I don't think it was stopped, but it was, at least it was made public that we were doing that. Although there's a prohibition from our own legal system to export weapons to Israel at this moment.
And also, I think, as per the EU, also because there is Article 7.4 in the Arms Trade Treaty, where it says like you cannot export weapons to countries where there can be like a gender-based violence, but also you cannot send weapons to conflict areas to sustain the war.
I'm a bit skeptical about those legal things, because it's even in the US you cannot export weapons to countries that are not signatories to the non-proliferation treaty. And everyone knows that Israel has a lot of nuclear weapons. It's only you cannot admit it, because as soon as you admit it, America is doing things against their own law. So it's, can have law, but people need to abide by it, of course. Anyway, my last question would be, if you would be in front of the Dutch government at this moment, and you would tell them, what do we need to do? I mean, I know that they would find it hard to listen. They refused to meet with Francesca Albanese, for instance. So we are quite hardline in the camp of Israel and the US. But if you would talk to them, what would they need to know from a women's Lebanese perspective?
Yeah, I would say I was doing some consultations for the Women, Peace and Security National Action Plan for the refugee part. And I saw like also the Dutch, they don't want much refugees, right? They don't want. You send us weapons, we send you refugees. You don't want refugees, stop sending arms. So this is one of the things. And at the same time, I think we have also great institutions, academic institutions. We have the American University of Beirut, where we can align. We have the Berzit University in Palestine. So there are lots of things that we need to do. And I think also regarding the future, how history we will have it down, and definitely Netherlands would not want to be on that wrong part of the history. So maybe it's always important to just revisit. And it's not only about, I will not go to the government, I will go to the people.
What would you tell the people?
I will tell them, please vote right. And I will tell them, please listen to us and be our voices, because when we are being beaten with bombs, I would say beaten because like we're just having slaps, this is how we say it in Arabic. We cannot at times even like talk about ourselves, be our voices, be the justice, be there for humanity. And I'm not being idealistic, because we have so much in common. Like I've spent like now, this is maybe the third day or the second day, I cannot remember. But like I can see the kindness of the people, and I can see like even there were like one part that looks so much like Saufar, a place in Lebanon. So I could see this. So
we're the same in that sense.
We are the same. It's just like it's just the economical part that is based on injustices and that blood, the blood of people. You do not want to live on our blood. We want to live together. For otherwise, like this universe, like we will all be gone.
Yes.
Especially with the developments now of the killer robots with no human control. Yes. So we want a human control, and we're asking for a treaty, and I think this is what we need all together. I mean, like you have these international courts in ICC, ICJ. I mean, yeah, and I mean, you have these institutions, and you need to be a role model to other countries.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Shirine. Is there anything you want to add to what you've just been saying?
Maybe I would just want to add, if you're going on a trip to work or on a vacation, and you're not able to go home because of the lack of a just word, how would you feel? And I'm not able to go back home
at this moment
because of what's
of
happening
war
now between Iran and Israel.
Yes, thank you very much for telling explaining your perspective, and I think it's a message to us also to try and be your voice in times when the hardships are very high. And thank you for sharing this. And I think we should indeed work together, find each other, and see how we can stay connected as a humanity, even when our governments clearly are failing to protect human rights. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks to the Hague Peace Projects.
Hope to talk to you soon again.
Inshallah. Inshallah. Shukran.
Thank you.